The letter that found its way back. Chapter 8. Testing the present. The following days moved differently, slower, more deliberate. Emily found herself watching Daniel with sharper eyes, weighing every gesture, every word. His confession still echoed through her. The years lost because of silence, her grandmother's hidden interference, his surrender to it. She had told him to prove himself, and she meant it. Love alone wasn't enough, not anymore. She began by letting him into her world. On Tuesday, she invited him to the atelier where she painted. It was a drafty studio tucked above a bakery, the scent of bread always lingering in the air. Canvases leaned against walls, brushes soaked in jars, and a single skylight spilled pale light across the floor. Daniel stood in the doorway for a long moment, cane in hand, his gaze sweeping over the chaos. "It smells like you," he said softly. "Paint and coffee and something alive." Emily laughed, embarrassed. "That's just turpentine and stale baguettes." But when she picked up her brush, he didn't tease. He watched her paint with a quiet reverence, as though every stroke mattered. And when her hand faltered, self-conscious under his gaze, he whispered, "Don't stop. The way you create it's like watching your soul move." His words unsettled her in their intimacy. She wasn't sure yet if she wanted him to see so deeply, but she didn't stop painting. On Thursday, she brought him to a dinner with friends. They gathered at a lively apartment near Bastille, the table crowded with food and laughter. Emily hadn't warned anyone. She wanted to see how Daniel moved in her life as it existed now, not as it had been. At first, he was quiet, listening more than speaking. But as the wine flowed and stories were traded, he leaned in, laughing at jokes, asking questions, even sharing a few of his own memories. When the host pulled out a guitar and began strumming, Daniel surprised her by singing softly, his voice rough but warm. The room stilled, then joined in, laughter rising again after the song. Later, as they walked home, Emily said, "You fit in too easily." "It's suspicious," Daniel chuckled. "I was on my best behavior. I didn't even tell them about the time you fell into the river chasing your sketchbook." Emily groaned, swatting his arm. "That never happened." "It did," he teased. "And your shoes still smelled like river water a week later." Their laughter carried into the night, light and unforced. For the first time, Emily allowed herself to imagine that maybe, just maybe, he belonged in this version of her life. But on Saturday, doubt returned. They sat at a cafe terrace, the city moving around them in waves of chatter and clinking glasses. Emily noticed the way Daniel winced when he shifted, the tightness in his jaw when he thought she wasn't looking. "You're in pain," she said quietly. He shrugged. "It comes and goes." "You didn't tell me it was this bad." "Because it's not always," he said firmly. "And because I don't want your pity." The sharpness in his tone startled her. She leaned back, her coffee cooling untouched. "I wasn't offering pity. I was offering honesty. Something we said we'd try this time." Daniel's expression softened immediately, guilt flickering. "You're right. I don't want you to feel trapped by what I've lost." Emily's voice dropped. "Daniel, I'm not afraid of your scars. I'm afraid of your silence." The words landed between them, undeniable. He reached across the table then, his hand covering hers, his eyes steady. "Then I'll fight the silence, Emily. Every day, even when it hurts." She studied him, the man who had once let silence steal a decade from them. Now he was promising to battle it. The weight of that vow was not lost on her. That evening, she took him to her favorite hidden place, a rooftop garden above an old hotel. They climbed slowly, carefully, until they reached the top, where vines curled along trellises and the city stretched out in golden light. Emily spread a blanket and opened a bottle of wine, her heart racing. "This is where I come when I need to remember who I am," she said. Daniel looked at her, eyes tender. "And you brought me here." "Because I need to know if you belong in that picture," she whispered. They sat in silence for a while, watching the Eiffel Tower shimmer in the distance, the sky bruising into twilight. Daniel finally spoke. "I don't deserve this second chance," he said softly. but I want it more than I've wanted anything in my life. And if that means proving myself to you every day, then that's what I'll do. I'll climb every stair, walk every mile, fight every shadow. Because I choose you, Emily, now, always. Her throat tightened, tears pressing hot against her eyes. She wanted to believe him. She was terrified to believe him. But when he reached for her hand, she didn't pull away. For a long moment, they sat together in the fading light, the city alive beneath them, two souls testing the fragile bridge between past and future. Emily closed her eyes and thought, maybe love isn't about erasing the scars. Maybe it's about learning to walk with them side by side. And for the first time, she let herself imagine that their story might not just be a reunion, but a beginning. Chapter 9. Ordinary Days. Paris was easy to love in its brilliance. The golden sunsets over the Seine, the heady swirl of cafe chatter, the glitter of the Eiffel Tower at night. But Emily knew the test of love wasn't found in the extraordinary. It was found in the quiet, in the ordinary days when nothing remarkable happened. So she began to watch for those moments. One morning, Daniel joined her at the market near Rue Mouffetard. It was bustling as always, vendors calling out prices, baskets of tomatoes gleaming like rubies under the sun. Emily loved wandering here, weaving between stalls, collecting vegetables she would later turn into stews and soups. Daniel walked beside her slowly, leaning on his cane but refusing her offers to carry his bag. His determination was almost comical, and Emily found herself smiling. When they stopped at a cheese stall, the vendor recognized her and began chatting quickly in French. Daniel stood quietly, clearly catching only pieces of the conversation. When Emily turned back, he was grinning. "What?" she asked. "I understood one word," he said proudly. "Goat." She laughed, shaking her head. "Well done. You'll survive Paris on goat cheese alone?" The simplicity of it, the sun on their shoulders, the laughter spilling between them, was what struck her most. This wasn't romance painted in broad strokes of fate. This was two people shopping for cheese, and it felt good. Another day, she found him waiting at her studio, a basket of pastries balanced precariously on his cane. "Peace offering," he said, holding it out like a knight offering treasure. Emily arched a brow. "For what crime?" "For existing without you for 10 years. She took the basket, heart catching at the lightness in his tone, at the weight of truth behind it. Later, as she painted and he read aloud from the Baudelaire book he had bought her, Emily felt something unshakable forming, not in passion, but in presence. He was there, not just in storms, not just in confessions, but in the quiet stretch of an afternoon where sunlight slanted through dusty glass. But ordinary days had shadows too. One evening after dinner, Daniel lingered by her window, watching the street lamps flicker on. His expression was distant. "What are you thinking?" Emily asked. He hesitated. "I'm thinking, what happens when Paris isn't enough?" She frowned. "What do you mean?" "It's easy here," he said softly. "This city, it's magic. It pulls us together. But what about when the magic fades? When it's just you and me, somewhere else, living days without markets and rooftops and glittering towers?" The question pierced her. She had asked herself the same thing in quiet moments. "Then we'll find out," she said. "Because love isn't built on magic, Daniel. It's built on mornings when you don't want to get out of bed, on arguments about groceries, on holding each other when nothing feels beautiful. That's the test." He turned to her then, his gaze searching. "And you believe we can pass it?" Her chest tightened, but she forced herself to hold his gaze. "I don't know, but I'm willing to try." Silence stretched, heavy and tender. Finally, Daniel nodded, his shoulders relaxing. "Then so am I." The following week, they decided to test the ordinary deliberately. No grand outings, no landmarks, no lingering at romantic cafes, just life. Emily invited him to her apartment for dinner, handing him a knife and pointing at a pile of onions. "You're on chopping duty." Daniel groaned dramatically. Cruel and unusual punishment. "Considerate penance," she teased. They cooked together, bumping elbows in the small kitchen, laughing when he nearly dropped the pan. Later, they sat on the floor eating from mismatched bowls, drinking wine from chipped glasses, and Emily realized she couldn't remember the last time she had felt so alive. But the hardest test came on a day that wasn't beautiful. Daniel had pushed himself too hard walking, and by evening, his leg was stiff with pain. He tried to hide it, but when he stumbled in her hallway, Emily caught him. "Why didn't you tell me?" she demanded, helping him to a chair. "Because I don't want you to see me weak," he said through clenched teeth. Her anger flared hot. "Weak? Daniel, strength isn't pretending you're fine. Strength is letting me in." He closed his eyes, breath shuddering. "I'm afraid, Emily. Afraid that one day you'll look at me and only see what I've lost." Her heart cracked at the rawness in his voice. She knelt beside him, cupping his face. "Then let me make this clear," she whispered. "I don't love you because of what you can or can't do. I love you because you're you. Scars, cane, pain, all of it. You're not a fragment of who you were. You're whole, right here, right now." Daniel's eyes opened, glistening with unshed tears. "And that's enough for you?" She kissed him softly, tasting salt. "It's more than enough." That night, as he slept on her couch, his cane leaning against the wall, Emily sat awake, watching the city lights flicker outside. The doubts weren't gone, the fear hadn't disappeared. But for the first time, she believed that love could be forged not just in storms and passion, but in the stubborn persistence of ordinary days. And maybe, just maybe, that was stronger than magic. Well, that is it for today, my friends. If you want to hear the rest, then come back next Wednesday, coffee in hand, a biscuit on the side, and enjoy more of this story. Remember to press the like button and leave me a comment or subscribe if you haven't yet.